I think we all have a different perception of truth, and some people would argue that very deeply, like the truth cannot be contested. And I think that is part of the reasoning why I'm interested in looking at this from like, what are the processes that makes a fact legitimate and what doesn't. My name is Lizania Cruz, and I am a Dominican participatory artist living and working in New York. My project, it's called Investigation on the Dominican Racial Imaginary, and it's a long-term research project that looks at the ways in which the Dominican consciousness have repressed our afro-descendancy. And by the ways that I've gone to do this is taking strategies from a criminal investigation. So I've created a murder wall where I've pinned all the evidence that I've found in different archives, books, literature, but also testimonies from Dominican folks. This is a survey that I did with people in the DR, and I asked them how do they identify racially and what they've been called.
El cuestionario es simplemente de identificar cómo usted se identifica y cómo le han dicho, si se identifica como negro, mulato, paro, tercerón, cuarterón.
Oye, te voy a decir, no me hagas esa pregunta que yo de negro no te sabía.
So the project will be a multi-layered installation showing the suspects and the witnesses to this, and where the audience to the project will have different forms of engaging. For instance, at my next show at AIR, I'm looking for the audience to be tested to see if they could be jurors in this trial. So it is sort of like a juror summons. What inspired the process was just like thinking about it as like a crime in history, like all those different ways that history has been like intentionally erased, and thinking of like the people who do that specifically. Murder begins with the intention to kill. The unconscious does not know the difference here between the virtual and the actual, the intention and the action. I'm trying to think of like the ways in which we build knowledge of history and also the sentiment on how people narrate history and the sentiments attached to those stories. Specifically when you think about a country where its identity was created around the sense of not being like the other, which is the other is our Haitian neighbors and like brothers and sisters. So what do people feel around that identity? It's part of the project as well, and that's why it's important to bring people's testimonies into the work, as well as like archives that are part of national archives or personal archives, and looking at archives more in a broad sense. Nueva York, una metrópolis, una feria mundial, la segunda isla, la diáspora. El archivo de una nación, de un sociólogo, de un pueblo y el del cuerpo. I'm trying to push the boundaries of what an artist could be. And I recently read last year Triman Ha, like Speaking Nearby, and this idea of inviting people and the ability to speak nearby. I think also often too we see the artist speaking of or the ethnographer speaking of. So how can we speak nearby without speak of people? So that's maybe also one of the reasons why I'm interested in inviting people to be part of the work as well.